Hello and welcome. Today we are celebrating International Women's Day, which is worldwide celebrated on the 8th of March. The theme for today's International Women's Day, or for this year, is Accelerate Action, which means making a change or progress for gender equality. In Skewdio, we have some of our very talented Skewbers: S, Katie, Louise, Susan, Niranjana, and Louise. So, in a short while, we'll be talking about moments that shaped us, challenges we faced, progress we have seen, and what more we should do or the world could do for a gender equality. So, before we open the floor for conversation, can each of you kindly introduce yourself, give a bit of your background and your foray into utilities? S, would you want to start, or Louise, would you like
I
to
don't
start?
mind.
Yeah?
Do you want me to start this?
Do you want to start? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm Louise Harper. I have been with Skewb for nearly 2 years now. But my kind of start in utilities started 25 years ago, because
Okay.
obviously I started when I was 12. And I had quite an organic start to my career. It wasn't intentional. And I did law at university, had a place at law school, decided it wasn't necessarily for me at that point. So I was going to defer it. It's still deferred. So I think I could phone it Wolverhampton University and still take my place up. But my parents obviously said, well, if you're not going to, have go to law school, you need to get a job. So after delving into kind of various temp jobs, I ended up at British Gas offices in Dudley, and was quite. I'm only going to be here temporarily until I get a proper job, and then 23 years later, I finally left the organisation and had various jobs along the way. And I had a period of time out in the NHS, and also I started my own business as well, doing something completely different for a while. So I'm a fully qualified Pilates teacher as well. And then I came here, and so we got the opportunity to come here and kind of take a balance of some of the skills that I kind of learned along the way. So yeah, quite an organic. It wasn't intentional, but I think when I first started, I immediately kind of felt at home in the space, and there was lots of things that meant that why that happened was I started off pretty much on the phones in the call centre, which hats off to anyone who's worked in the call centre. I think it's one of the most harsh jobs ever. And I found I really enjoyed turning conversations around. I enjoyed working with people, changing people's perceptions, and I think the utilities industry really does give you a platform for that. And so that's my kind of pathway into utilities.
What a career, Louise. Actually, I did say our scuba women are multi-talented. So let's hear from most scuba women. Niranjana, would you like to go?
Yeah, I'm Narendra, otherwise known as NJ within the Skewb offices. I have been in utilities and Skewb for around about 2 months now. Very, very new to the sector. I had a very non-linear start to my career and how I got here, which is I did my degree in politics, assuming I wanted to go and be in law. Quickly realised it was just not for me. And instead did marketing and comms in Singapore and Dubai, did a master's degree off the back of that, and just continued to work with businesses and people in the meantime while I was in the university. I constantly love to stay busy, so I was just trying things from like investment pitches and helping a business redesign their customer journey, and generally working on a business accelerators. And I realized I'd kind of been doing project management without the name tag on it for a long time. So whilst I was doing a master's degree, I got recruited by Deloitte to join their graduate scheme with their Oracle offering. And that's kind of where I got my first kind of formal grounding for what PMO is and what I'd actually been doing without realizing for years before that. I did about a year and a half stint there, worked in some private sector work, some public sector work, and then decided it was just a bit of a time for a break because I felt like I wanted to reorient my PMO career, and I just kind of reached a fork in the road. And which is kind of how, after a very nice little sabbatical, I got contacted by people at Skewb. And from the first time I spoke to someone on the phone, it just clicked. And I was like, I think I'm in the right place. So here I am. I'm now part of digital products as PMO across all our digital products and live client projects at the moment. It's an evolving role. So currently I work on PSG, which is our internal forum about how we track and look after the governance surrounding our projects. In 6 months' time, I do not know what my role will look like, but we shall see.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's how I've got here, and everyone's been amazing so far. So yeah.
Thank you, NJ. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Sharp, and I am from America, so my journey is a bit longer probably than others traveling. So I started off in Atlanta. I am very lucky. My father is an electrical engineer. My sister is an electrical engineer. I am not an electrical engineer, but I am an industrial engineer. And with that degree, I had a choice to go work in a factory or go work for a consultancy firm. And the ladies and gentlemen that came to my school in suits and were talking about problem solving, that just seemed like the right thing. All my friends went down the factory route. I just didn't see myself doing that. I wanted to be a suit. So that landed me a job with a consultancy firm called Hewitt, and that is pensions. So I started out life in doing work in pensions. It was always project management, though. I was put on to small clients. Then I did quality assurance, into implementation manager, and Hewitt opened offices in the UK. They said, Susan, would you like to go over to the UK for 6 months? Yep, sounds good. I'll come over for 6 months. In 6 months, I think we finished the requirements of the major project that I was working on. That turned into a 3-year assignment, turned into meeting my husband, turned into having 2 beautiful girls, and I don't call Atlanta home anymore. Harpenden in the UK is my home. So I've always been in project management, implementation manager. We in the pensions business, we implemented lots of tech for call centers, lots of tech for websites. So that was my bag. I always did that. Moved over to the UK, finished my job with Hewitt, that was aligned to banks. So worked for many banks, insurance companies, had a couple of maternity leaves along the way. And on my second maternity leave, I was like, I don't want to travel into London anymore. And that's where the jobs were. And so I looked around and I thought, what's a good local company? Oh, Affinity Water, my local water company, hiring for a project management role. And so I thought that sounded good. The only thing I didn't realize is they wanted me to be more IT. I've always been business side project management, not really. And like, I need to know what LAN and WAN and and these things are. I managed to get the job knowing enough ITT, and then managed to explain my strengths for more business project management, not the networks, which worked out well. So I always flip-flop between business and IT. And all the banks and the insurance companies, they would always divide us, and it was always, they'd break us into IT and business, put us together, break us into IT. Anyway, Affinity, so my first start, that was about 2016. So I only spent about 5 years in Affinity Water. But during that time, I did meet Sashi and worked, he got to know some of my skills. And so once that finished, I said, Skewb looks like a great place to work. Can I come work for you? I know you do lots of transformation projects. So I have the project management skills to come. And now I was going to work directly for Sashi, but then I volunteered to help on the Skewb climate team. And then they decided, oh, why don't you come help delivery on the Skewb climate team? And that is what I do now, working at Skewbs. So in utilities, understand water. I've learned a lot about gas because what we do at Skewb Climate is create all these educational games. So I have learned the beach to meter journey for gas, and obviously I knew about the water cycle from Affinity. But at Skewb Climate, we do events, we do campaigns, we do everything. So I feel like it's been a great evolution from just being a program manager, transformation manager into, I feel like I'm an event manager, campaign manager, a bit of marketing, bit of everything. And so that's been a great journey.
Thank you, Susan. I think that's the beauty of Skewb. I feel that we all come from different diverse backgrounds, and hey ho, here we are under one umbrella, which is Skewb. So thanks for that, Susan. Eloise.
Thank you. Yeah, Eloise Blacksall, and I work in quality and compliance. I've been at Skewb for 3 months, so also very new. And this is also my first role in utilities. Previous to this, I've had a huge range, which has been an exciting journey. But really, when I was 18, I was meant to be going off to university to do international politics with Russian and French. And 2 weeks before I was going, I found out I was 8.5 months pregnant. So I was a single teenage mum with no degree, and very much felt like I didn't know what I was going to do and a little bit trapped. And I ended up working in education because it meant that my son had free childcare. And that's how I started my journey, really. I became a high-level teaching assistant, and from there I thought, I need to get paid to be a teacher because I'm doing the job. So as an adult, decided to go back to university. Actually, I needed my A-levels first because I didn't have those either. I'd left far too soon. So I went back, did my A-levels in 1 year, got an amazing scholarship to go to university where I studied language, culture and communications and specialised in policies. And that was only 4 years ago.
Oh,
So it wasn't, I graduated 4 years ago, and since then I went straight into construction, which is where my family background is. I worked in rail, I was out on the track in PPE, auditing, which was just an amazing experience, seeing everything. And from there I got a job with the British Standards, going out auditing across so many different industries, including utilities, and got some incredible insights into how other places of work run, good and the ugly as well. And from there I knew I wanted to get my hands on a management system again and get involved and have a team to work with, because it was quite a lonely role. And that's how I found Skewb, and I have loved it. It's been exactly what I was looking for in terms of that community and collaboration. So it's been an excellent start.
Oh, thank you, Eloise, for kind words. Katie.
Hello, I'm Katie McGinn. I'm one of the delivery directors here at Skewb, and I've been here it's coming up for a year, so it'll be a year in April. So my journey started, I left university, I did criminology and social policy. There's a bit of a legal theme here. Didn't want to go into that either, so I needed to get a job. So I joined Anglian Water. So I'm from Lincoln, and Lincoln is quite a small city. One of the biggest recruiters in the city is Anglian Water. So I joined as a temp, as an ops administrator, and it was supposed to be a 6-month gig, and it's ended up being, I think I've been in the industry for 20 years now. So you just get drawn in, and it's an industry that you don't ever want to leave. I think there's just so much change, so much good opportunities to actually help the water industry as a whole. But I worked for Anglian, like I said, as an ops administrator. Quickly thought I want to go into the engineering side of things. So I trained, did my HNC in water ops and engineering to learn about the industry as a whole and the management side of things, knowing I wanted to go into like a management kind of role eventually. Worked in the engineering teams on infra and non-infra, water and water recycling, or wastewater as it's called in different companies. And worked my way up into different like project and program management roles as well. So and did a bit of assurance as well. So in the SHEC team at Anglian Water as well. So tried lots of different, it offers you a variety of roles and things. So met lots of fabulous people across the way as well, with so much skills and knowledge that so many people was wanting openly to share and stuff. So it was really good. I think my last role in Anglian was in developer services as a technical. I think it was a technical manager there, so overseeing the engineering teams and things there. And I just thought, do you know what? There's a bigger world out there. I need to go and get some different kinds of experiences now, working for a different company. So Affinity Water. Well, actually, it was my husband's fault. My husband got a job down in Hertfordshire during COVID because he'd had enough of working in the job that he was in. So he got an opportunity working for Hertfordshire County Council. And so I thought, right, okay, I'd quite fancy getting a job elsewhere too. So I also got a job at Affinity Water, which is also Hertfordshire, based in Hatfield. And I joined the developer services team there. I did a transformation project because developer services weren't doing great. And that's where I first came across Skewb. So I met the fabulous Rob Upton-Muir there for the second time, because I also knew him from, vaguely knew him from Anglian Water. So it's a small industry, isn't it? You kind of realise that you know most people.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, got to work with Skewb there. They were part of the transformation team. Yeah, it was great being a part of that team, learning about how they really grab hold of a piece of work or a team and transform it very, very quickly, whereas the water industry is renowned for being extremely slow and resistant in any kind of changes. So it was a great opportunity to be part of that. And then I moved into the investment management team, so looking after the capex, the custodians of the capex pot for Affinity Water, which was an amazing experience. Actually, just it opened my eyes to how big a water company is, how many different elements make it successful. So it's no wonder that there are issues when you've got to balance so many different things. You've got so much of the industry needs investment, but there just isn't enough money to go around. So it was a really good opportunity being part of that. And then I was still missing being a part of that transformation, kind of like part of work, being a program manager again. So I reached out and got in touch with Rob, and now I'm here. So
Wonderful, is it?
yeah, and it's been a lovely opportunity ever since I've started at Skewb. Everybody's so nice. Everybody's got so much skills, so much knowledge, experience, and things that you can share. And working alongside the gas teams as well has been eye-opening as well. So it's been really, really good.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie. Essie, your turn.
So I'm Esme, also known as Az. So again, similar to you, this is the first utility company that I've worked for. So I'm a facilities administrator. So when I left school, I went to college and I did the photography course, which was like graphic design and fine art as well, because I always wanted to go down the creative side of things. So when I left there, I didn't go down the creative side. I went straight into a job, and I got a job doing sales. So a lot of my jobs have been mainly sales or working in a call centre. And my last job was selling spa packages, so spa days and spa breaks and things like that. And when I was there, I just thought, I don't want to do sales anymore, because it's so difficult to have the targets to work towards and things like that. So I thought I definitely wanted to have a change. And a recruitment agency reached out to me in regards to this job, and I thought, wow, that literally sounds incredible. And then when I was going through the interview process, as soon as I spoke to people from here, I thought, oh, I really, really want to get it, because everyone's so lovely. So then I've been here for nearly 2 years now, so about a year and a half, and I literally love it. Like, everyone here is so lovely, and working around such intelligent people like yourselves, like all the experience that you've got, it's amazing. So yeah, that's how I've got here. Not a lot of experience in comparison to you guys, but yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. But this is what is incredible, isn't it? We all come from different backgrounds, and we all had completely different experiences, teaching, law, I just can't imagine, and I'm sure there's more to come. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for taking part. So before we open the panel for conversation, Can I just give a shout out to a wonderful Skewber who's behind the camera, whom you can't see, which is Jessica Milligan, without which we couldn't have made this whole podcast panel discussion for IWD possible. Thank you, Jess. Right. So, coming into IWD, I read that as per the data from the World Economic Forum, it would take 5 more generations before we achieve some sort of pay parity or a gender parity, right? So I thought it'd be good to just start off with some positives as to what sort of thing has shaped your career today or the person you are today. Is there any moment in your life that has completely changed the person you are today? So it's just open to anybody. Anyone can pick up.
I remember being at college, applying for universities, and kind of just sticking with what felt like my traditional route. I should go and do a teaching degree. I wasn't particularly enamoured by it, but my college tutor, Graham, who was fantastic, very blunt man, sat me down and said, "You do not need to be defined by the fact that you're a parent and you can do any job you like." And he made me apply for a scholarship and made me apply to a red brick university. And thanks to him, I went and pushed myself and challenged myself. But otherwise, I think I would have just not even considered it. And that conversation meant a lot to me and completely changed the path of my life. And it was him having the guts, I think, to just outright say it of, you should do this.
Yeah.
And I suppose having someone in your corner, pushing you to think outside the box. So Graham was an important person in my career choice.
That's really wonderful because that's kind of leads on to the whole IWD theme, which is allyship, which is so important for all of us. So before we move on to allyship, is there anybody else who want to say, is there one moment that shaped your career today, the way it is today?
I think for me, like most of you know, that I'm deaf. I've been deaf since the age of 14. It happened from a kind of road traffic accident, and my parents were told that I'd only got 20% chance living and all that malarkey, and I ended up only walking away with my deafness, and I struggled for an awful long time to accept that.
Yeah.
And battled against it, and all these things not define me, and I'm going to do everything, and I wouldn't even entertain the word disabled in any way. It really triggered me an awful lot, and I spent a lot of time, and it wasn't until probably I've got 3 children, and it was when my youngest was born, and I thought I was going a bit crazy, and I thought I was going a bit more deaf, and I'd been told, there's nothing we can do, you're not going to get more deaf. And I'm thinking, I can't, I'm really, really, really struggling. And so my husband said, "Do you think, when was the last time you had a hearing test?" And I went, "Oh, when I was 14. And he said, "Well, maybe you should go to and go and find out." So I went and had that. And the consultant said to me, like, "We've got good news and bad news. The bad news is that actually you are getting, well, you have some kind of further damage. But the good news is we can give you a hearing aid. And we can actually amplify, because this one doesn't work at all. This one is damaged. So they can amplify it. They make it work better than it would do kind of normally." And that completely changed my life. Because I was getting to the point where I was really struggling in meetings. I was really struggling kind of socially. It's really, I'm quite a social person, and I found that really, really hard. I was, my kids still to this day mutter under their breath. which causes quite huge arguments. But I've, they kind of their kids are in a teenager. They're gonna abuse that. But actually, that moment when that consultant said to me, "We can do something for you," and changed my ability at work, changed my, I was always having to second guess, and I used to pretend that I heard people, like they'd speak to me, and I go, yes, okay, walk away, and I have to say to a mate of mine, what did they say? But the sort of catch up with it. And I had really good friends and colleagues at work that were really, really patient with me and would allow me to still do my job. But yes, that moment for me when it was like amazing. It was just the best thing ever.
Thank you, Louise, for sharing that. Anybody else want to go? Have a go?
Mine was actually quite similar to Eloise's, which is I think I was always just like curious in so many things growing up. Like I loved my history, I loved reading. I was constantly curious, a little bit nosy. And when I got to getting ready to go to university, I had all these grand ideas about what I wanted to do. And I think I'd reached a stage about 2 years into my degree when typically in Bath you'd go off and do your own placement. And I was really struggling to find something that like resonated with me, because until you find that, it's really hard to convince someone in an interview to hire you as a placement student. And it was just my dad sort of saying that there's like, I have your back no matter what you decide to go ahead and do. It doesn't matter that it doesn't linearly make sense, because come from an Asian family, there were like relatives being like, why are you doing like a politics degree, but now you want to go into marketing and you want to do stuff in business? None of this makes any sense. He was like, my dad isn't any of that. Just whatever it is that you decide to do, I've got you. Just make sure to give it your everything. And I think that reassurance over the years, because that was not the first time he had to say that. He had to say it after I left Joy, and I was just kind of like, I left because I felt like they were trying to cave me into like a mold that I didn't feel fit me as an individual and what I wanted to do long term. So I had to take the somewhat scary decision to leave. But he was just like, once again, whatever it is you commit to do in the future, just give it your everything and know that there are people in your corner. There's nothing wrong with having a non-linear approach to life. And yeah, if anything, I think Skewb loved the fact that I came from a slightly, what's the right word for it?
Unconventional.
Artificial set of interactions that have resulted in my career path, and I'd seen it as a strength, and I was like, that's kind of when I knew that I was in the right place. But it's nice to have those people in your life, be it like a tutor or someone in your family, just sort of saying it's okay to take the unconventional route.
Definitely, most definitely. Does anybody else want to chip in, or shall we go on to the next topic?
I've got
Yes.
one story.
Of course.
For me, it was but with my second child going back to work. The first child, I went back to my same job, so that was less scary. But with the second child, they made me redundant while I was on maternity leave, and my husband got used to me being at home and doing everything, and I was like, well, I think I should go back, but I knew I didn't want to go back 5 days a week. He's like, you're not going to get a job for 3 days a week. So I looked around and I actually applied for full-time jobs. I got to the end assessment day and actually was offered for a full-time job. And I went in and had the conversation and said, thank you for the offer. I actually want to work 3 days a week. Because I'd gone through all the assessment and done so well in my interview, and I came in with all these different, I was like, I can work this hour and shift here and work late. And I had all these combinations written down on a piece of paper to sell myself to him. But I knew I didn't want to, I just had my second baby. I wanted to be home with that. But anyway, that was defining, was people told me you can't go for a full-time job and get a part-time job. And actually, I proved everybody wrong. I got a really good 3-day a week in St. Albans. It was absolutely perfect for me. It was a 5-minute train journey. It got me out of Harpenden in, but then I also had my 2 days with my children.
Well done, Susan. This is the thing with being a woman and having a career, is that we are still the primary person who nurtures the family, the kids, and so we have to be wearing multiple hats, and you need to have that switch on, switch off mode, right? Like you are a working woman here. The moment you go home, you're a wife, you are a parent, you are a carer. So you wear these multiple hats. And I think women are blessed with being able to do that, because I think God has given us that because we can deal with it. That's what my take on generally, like when things go tough. This is what I think. We can take it. That's why we are getting these challenges. Okay, so moving on to allyship. The beauty of allyship is that it's a two-way street, right? It's never who supported you. Can you think of somebody, some colleague or somebody in your life whom you have supported, given that offered that olive branch or an allyship branch today? Anyone can have a go if you can think of somebody.
So in the construction company I worked in, there were not very many women. And in fact, there were so few of us that we started up our own women's group. So I think there were like 8 of us at our greatest point in a company the same size as Skewb. So really low diversity in terms of gender. But it was fantastic to be a part of that group, and actually we've still remained in contact now. Unfortunately, they've recently gone through some redundancies, but every single one of them has supported each other and gone, I know a fantastic company. I've been working with this amazing company that really embraces women in construction, or they've got initiatives in place already and they're looking for it to be stronger. And actually those are the items that we've all picked up and gone, oh, I want to work for them because of that. And that's our bond as such, and that kind of brings us together in knowing that those places do exist. We can share them with each other. It's almost a bit like pinpointing safe spaces in the industry, because unfortunately it was an industry that I found was still very dated in its perception of women. So it's great to be part of that community still, even if I'm not in the industry.
Definitely. And I think in a way Skewb is that way, we have more women Skewbers than male counterparts, which is a fact that I take great pride in and keep repeating it in whatever forums I get an opportunity to talk to. So again, that allyship, I think it's that support that you lend to each other, and just to generally uplift the other person's lives, even a little slightly, by marginally, if we could make a difference. I think that's what we all need to strive to, isn't it? Does anybody else have a story about allyship, or can move on to the next question?
I think so. I think for me, allyship isn't gender based anyway.
Yeah.
I think I do my best with having a busy work life, home life, to kind of notice when some people maybe need a conversation or some time. And that goes throughout my career really. And I count a lot of people that I've worked with as some of my best friends, and both within British Gas and my kind of couple of years in the NHS. We're still in contact, and the NHS is a bit of a different beast because it is very female driven. Because the flexibility that it gives with jobs, so it tends to be but where I worked, I've always had, a bit like Susan, sort of one foot in a kind of male dominated industry and one foot in a male dominated career path, so from an IT perspective. And so within the NHS, it's been very much sort of that tech bit is still male dominated. And I think from an allyship, it's just seeing, where people need support, and it's kind of the small actions that you can do. It's not necessarily, it's not necessarily the big things. It's about sort of noticing when people kind of need just that little bit of extra support. Because you can find it quite overwhelming, can't you?
Yeah.
As an individual, when you think, I've got, and they say something like, you need one friend at work to make you happy. You only need one. You don't need loads.
Yeah.
But like, you've got one person to talk to, and sometimes that just takes you just having a chat.
Brilliant. It's wonderful to hear. Anybody else?
I think when I started at Anglian, I was only 20, 21, and going into an engineering environment, which was very heavily male dominated, was quite daunting to start with. I had to earn my right to actually get into like meeting rooms on quite a few occasions. I think I found quite a few times going out to sides and things, the men would end up having a meeting and putting their backs on me because I was just this silly little 20, 21-year-old girl who didn't have the right to be there and things. So I had to work probably at least 2, 3, 4 times as hard to get to where I was. But I had that one constant friend in the team. He was a guy called Mark, who was he was an engineer, and he just kind of we got on straight away, and he was like pushing me. He was that one person throughout my career at Anglian that just said, you can do it, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can be an engineer, you can do you can be a program manager, you will be their manager. And in the end I was, and it's like having somebody there to support you and tell you that you are doing a good job, and you have the right to be there amongst anybody else is what everybody probably needs to have throughout their career.
Because that inner critic is the biggest critic, isn't it? You know, it's really easy to doubt yourself.
Yeah, it was really hard at times, and like you do definitely doubt yourself. You think, oh, okay, yeah, I've got imposter syndrome here. And you still get a bit of imposter syndrome even being here. I've pinched myself like, wow, like, that it's just having somebody there, and like you meet various people throughout your times. I mean, I've probably got my new version of that in Tony here now as well. But you just need that one person, like you said, for sure.
No, definitely. It just, again, as Louise, you were saying, it is not a gender-based allyship, isn't it? We have some wonderful men in our lives who have probably given us the right inspiration and pointed us in the right direction as well. So when you talk about International Women's Day, we also need to give a shout out to the male colleagues who have supported us at some point in our life. Yeah, so that's great. Is there anything that you would like to add in terms of, you work in a very 3 female-led team at the facilities. You see a lot of visitors. You are the first face of Skewb as they walk in. You are our first impression as people walk in through the door. So did you find that challenging?
When I first started, I probably did. At Pure, it wasn't so much like how it is now. Like now we've got a front desk, so I am the first person who's greeting you at the door. But I actually really enjoy it. Like all throughout my career, one thing I love is talking to people and meeting new people. Like I'm quite a bubbly, outgoing person. And I think one thing with me is I'll always make people feel at ease. So yeah, no, I love sitting there and going back to having one person. Like I have multiple people here who I can rely on, and who, if I needed to have a chat with them about something, or if I was having a really hard day, I'd always have someone there that Kate is 100% that person. Like she's literally like almost like a work mother. And then if our previous job, I've always had someone like that, and I think I count myself really lucky that I've always had someone who I can rely on, and I think I've been that person to people as well. Like people here, I think they'd class me as a friend, so if they needed to ever speak to me about something, then they know that I'd always be there for like a walk or a chat. But I think it definitely is so important. It she can like make or break you, and I think I think we definitely we're all safe to say that we've got someone here who's like that. So
Yeah, thank you, West. True for most of us. Yeah.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's trust.
Yeah.
It's like having that culture of trust that you can go to someone in the organisation, wherever you're working, and say, I have a problem, and you're going to be judged on the quality of your work and your ability to do your job, not on anything else. And I think that's something that I've found is here, and I don't have seeing that like gender balance here as well kind of reinforces that community of trust. But anywhere, it's knowing that you've got that one person you can rely on who's going to like make the decision on the right things. And I think that's probably the key piece for me about International Women's Day is like making sure that that's there and it's spoken about and people know that they're trusted to have that voice.
Definitely. Coming back to the utility space, which is still predominantly a male-dominated world, and you are women in the sector. I could say very lucky women in the sector, fortunate women in the sector, because we have broken that barrier and gotten there mainly. What do you think, like, from the days you started working, possibly, is there one difference that you've noticed that have evolved that's working better for women in today's space in the utility sector?
I think, sorry, it's me again.
Yeah, it's all right.
I think it's, I am inspired by the younger generation. I think when I was working my way up through the ranks, and I did it quite quickly, which had its benefits, but also, as Katie explained, when you're kind of in your mid-20s and you're in a room of middle-aged Welsh engineers and you're trying to tell them how to do their job, that can be quite tough. And I think we have done a good job at opening some of the doors, but the younger generation are much better at advocating for themselves than I think I was.
Yeah.
And I think some of I think we have, I can remember trying to, getting feedback and saying, you're too nice, you're too this, you're too that, and trying to bash myself into a mould and going, okay, I need to be more aggressive, I need to be more like a man. And I don't think I don't think that is the way that you kind of think that.
Yeah.
I think you kind of play to your strengths more, and it's known the power of empathy, power of kindness, and so on. So I think I'm inspired by the younger generation because I think they are a force to be reckoned with in
definitely.
a great way.
Yeah, we have at home as well, isn't it? In the form of our daughters and sisters.
Yeah.
We know some of them are like, the new generation, especially. They are much more, I think I would say, I consider them more wiser than my generation, at least,
Yeah, I definitely say that. That's my 18-year-old. She's doing a neuroscience degree at the moment, and she's one of the things that I'm most proud of, apart from the fact that she's like super clever, great person, really fun to be around, is the fact that she really stands up for it. She values herself so much more than I did at that age.
Yeah, I think and that's the way to go ahead. Yeah. So looking ahead, what is one thing that you're most hopeful for the next generation?
I hope that I think you just hit the nail on the head really there, in that the opportunities are endless for everybody now. Everybody has access to whatever they want to do with their career, which is lovely. It wasn't like that when I started out, and I think the world is their oyster, which is just amazing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Anybody else before we conclude?
I know there's a lot of talk about like menopause in the workplace at the moment, and it's something that I think we're seeing more recognition of, especially in utilities. I've seen it on LinkedIn about some of our customers implementing some of the standards around supporting women, and I think we're going to see more and more formalized ways of approaching supporting some of the adversities that everyone is affected by in the workplace. And it's about being vocal, isn't it? The same way that our younger generation are, is like not having the fear to talk about things that previously weren't on a topic for discussion. So it's great to see other companies just being so open about what they're doing to support their staff. And I think we're just going to see more and more of it going forward, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else? Okay, so that is nicely brings us to the conclusion. So thank you all for taking part. I would like to say that the IWD International Women's Day belongs to anyone who believes in women's equality and advancements. So there's no gender bias there. And we're looking for a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. And we are getting there, definitely. But even though if it's 5th generation, I'm still hopeful that 6th generation will have a much different life than us. But saying that, I'm not complaining as of now. So thank you all, and thank you for listening to us. Happy International Women's Day, which is 8th of March. Thank you again.
Thank you.